What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, and break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward. Some big news involving Tesla, what you should be watching for as time progresses, as the market's going to likely make new all-time highs tomorrow for many different stocks. But before I begin to detail all this information, before I get into any more details about my predictions for Tesla and the markets, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon in just about 7 days from now. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening to the markets. Tesla got a lot of bullish news today, which caused the share price to soar. And going into tomorrow, we have a lot of very important data coming out that's going to affect whether or not the market continues this. I do believe the market's going to pump more. We have more upside coming, but we're going to be looking at very, very important factors that could affect whether or not that continues going into like Thursday and beyond. So I'll talk about what on earth is happening. So tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, okay, May 22nd, 2024. All right. We have some data coming out in the morning at 10 o'clock a.m. We have existing home sales and more data like that. And then at 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m., we have the 17-week bill auction and 20-year bond auction coming out. Now, this data is all very, very minor relative to what's coming out later, because at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the FOMC minutes coming out. This is going to cause a big move in the markets. Let me make it very clear that the FOMC minutes is not an FOMC meeting. It is simply a summary, a report of what happened during the latest FOMC, and it's going to give us more insights on what these different Fed officials and different Fed speakers are thinking. So that's going to be very important. Let me make it very clear that when Jerome Powell spoke, the market pumped. Okay, the market pumped very, very nicely, and then also don't forget that when we had more Fed speakers speaking, the market also continued to pump. It's been pumping to all-time highs again. So with the FOMC minutes coming out, the odds do favor that this will help the market pump more as we get very, very close to the next catalyst. So as a reminder, all the data is very minor tomorrow, except for the FOMC minutes. That's very important. This will likely cause a big move, and it does favor the upside, in my personal opinion. Excuse me. And then on top of all of this, for tomorrow, before the market opens, we have Target and TJ Maxx and a few more retail announcing their earnings. And after the market closes, we have Nvda announcing its earnings. That's going to be very, very important. So with the FOMC minutes coming out, I suspect that this is going to cause upside for the markets. And the market's going to likely rally approaching Nvidia's earnings after the market closes. And I think that Nvidia's earnings will determine if the market continues higher or if we get a big rug pull. We'll be watching this very, very carefully. For more data involving the markets, right now the market's quite greedy in terms of sentiment. Market momentum is still in favor of greed as more buyers are defending, and the overall momentum is still in favor of bulls and a lot more buyers. On top of that, when it comes to more data, I want to make it very clear that right now the puts and call option positioning is very, very low as we're seeing greed making up the majority of sentiment, and more buyers are stepping in, closing shorts and continuing to make up sentiment shifts. So right now the buyers are in control. There's no sign of a big crash or big rejection yet, and right now the market remains bullish as is and likely has more upside coming. Market volatility, the VIX is also hitting new lows, continuing to fall. This is once again favoring bulls a little bit more for now, and there's no sign of the VIX rejecting quite yet. That's going to be very important. Now, as far as Tesla goes, some big news came out which helped it pump. The first piece of news is the fact that many of the shareholders actually are not really in approval with Elon Musk's pay compensation plan. And then the second piece of news is this, that Tesla's going to deliver more than 50 electric semis to PepsiCo. That's some big news considering that they already placed an order for about 100 of them. They already received 36, and they're going to be, ordering another 50. So they want to kind of make a very, very big shift starting in 2026, approaching 2040, as they're trying to get rid of their carbon emissions. They claim they want to reach net zero in terms of carbon emissions. Not promising anything about that. I'm not going to comment too much on that. I just want to say that that's what their goal is. And for now, they're going to continue to switch to Tesla and other companies like that. Great news for Tesla and also for Ford. They did also order a lot of Ford EV vans. So very, very interesting news that's come out. There's also more news that came out right over here about what's going on with the robotaxi interior. Tesla has teased a potential robotaxi interior. Some pictures have come out. Nothing is guaranteed about this. This was a new shareholder video. This was also very, very positive, as there's a lot of excitement about the robotaxi and how it could end up looking if Tesla eventually develops an AI-driven vehicle that doesn't even have a steering wheel. That would be pretty cool. But nothing's guaranteed about this potentially becoming a prototype or anything like that. This is just some interesting stuff that's been teased. Now, with the robotaxi coming out, that's going to be very cool. I can't wait to see what that causes. And there's been a lot more hype and excitement about that today. Moving forward, Cantor Fitzgerald gave Tesla an overweight rating. We're also starting to see the price price ratio going up as Tesla's gaining some strength relative to the market. And we tend to see more and more volatility at 10 a.m., noon, and then 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have a tendency of seeing more and more volatility on Wednesdays. We're green about 48% of the time. And don't forget, June is historically a very strong month for Tesla, and we're getting very close to that time. For volume at 115 million in volume, that's 15% more than average, or even more than that. And we're up almost 7% for the day, which is not bad for Tesla. What do I see for the share price? What is my current prediction? I'm not just going to focus on technicals and be kind of brief with this part. So for Tesla, we got a lot of bullish news that came out again and again and again. And as a result, the share price has pumped quite a bit. We have resistance at 188 and also at 190, followed by that mid 190 area. We have support currently at this 185 area. Losing this opens the doors for 183, the previous resistance becoming support. And then we have 182 and then 180 below that. I think that, in my personal opinion, Tesla could dip a little bit, just see a little bit of a retracement, retest 183 or so to 182, then try to bounce, see a nice bounce, and a continuation higher as the market continues to push. And Tesla might attempt to fight for 188 again, if not break through it if we get some good news. So news is very important for Tesla today. We got all good news. Yesterday we had some negative news, which is why Tesla was down a bit. So that really shows how much it could shift in a single day. But I just want to make it very clear, with the big bar forming, Tesla has more upside potential. I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla dips just a bit, grabs liquidity during the pre-market, then tries to get a bounce and continues higher from here. But if Tesla closes or loses 182, then that would be a little bit more of a bearish signal. We could be dipping back down to 178. I don't really favor that. I think it's going to dip a little bit and try to rebound and continue to hold up. And I favor that a bit more in my personal opinion. How about for SPY and the others? In my opinion, the others are looking a lot more bullish. Looking at the way SPY is moving, the share price is currently very, very bullish. We have a nice cup and handle-like structure. If we break past this resistance at 531.5, look for 532.25, 533, then 534 as resistance. Those are going to be some key levels. I suspect it's going to continue to break out as we have a cup and handle, and the structure is very strong on the 4-hour time frame. Every time SPY dipped, it got bought up. You can see right over here, got bought up very nicely, pushed up higher, and then after that, got bought up again. So right now, the technicals favor the upside. The pattern is more bullish. We came down, got bought up, came down, got bought up, made a higher low, and it's a cup and handle. Easily going to break out, in my opinion. I think we're going to easily break all-time highs, and we're going to easily get to at least 532.25, if not 533 at the very least, or higher. I favor the upside more. Approaching Nvidia's earnings, I think that the FOMC minutes will be more positive for the bulls, but I don't know what's going to happen once Nvidia's earnings come out. For now, I'll tell you this about Nvidia. If you look at the 4-hour time frame, just like this, what you'll notice is that we have a very, very nice looking bullish structure right over here. We have an inverse head and shoulders like structure. We're continuing to push, and we could be pushing again to higher levels like the 960s. I favor a nice push that's coming. I think the technicals look bullish, and I think that, I think that there's a lot of potential for it to continue to go as time goes on. So I favor upside for Nvidia. I think that there's a lot more potential for it, and I think that we're going to likely see this thing continue to push moving forward. So I favor the upside. I think Nvidia is going to try pushing higher, and I think that we're going to be looking for a test of these highs in the 960s going into tomorrow. But there's no guarantee it's going to last, as it also depends on what happens with Nvidia's earnings. For the QQQ, we're looking very bullish right now, continuing to break out. We're at 456 right now, and I think that we have a lot more upside potential moving forward. I'm going to be looking at resistance at 456 right now. As we approach the after hours, 457.25 and then 458, followed by 460 above that. Overall, technicals look very bullish on the QQQ. For support, watch 454.5, 453 below that. So if we lose that, we're going to turn back down. As of right now, I expect this, and I anticipate more upside approaching Nvidia's earnings, and I find that to be very, very probable. So we'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. For Apple, the 4-hour is looking a lot more bullish. It does favor upside, and I do believe that when we zoom out, we're going to be approaching this resistance around this 195 area, so it might push a little bit higher to 194 to 195, up to this resistance right over here. So I favor a little bit more upside, at least for the chart. Now, watch resistance at 193.5. We're actually below that during the pre-market right now, or during the after hours right now, and maybe the pre-market tomorrow. So watch that resistance. If we break 192.5, look for 193.5, then 195. Look at support 192. If we lose, we're going to be dipping. Overall, the trend is still bullish, and there's more upside potential in my personal opinion. For Bitcoin, this will be the last one I talk about before I start to be very brief with my updates. I said Bitcoin might dip a bit, then try to bounce. That's exactly what happened. I'm going to be looking for a test of 71,000 again. We're getting a nice little bounce, and I think it's going to hold up quite well. Anyways, now let's talk about the other tickers I have. I'm going to be very, very blunt with this part, very quick. For Palantir, I want to make it very clear that right now the technicals are not the strongest for Palantir, and we called the dip yesterday in my video to 21. That's exactly what has happened so far. We have resistance currently at 21.6 to 22, and we have support currently at 21 flat. If we dip from there, we're going to be dipping even lower all the way down to about this support. So I think we might dip a little bit and try to rebound. And I think that overall, Palantir has a little bit more downside coming to the lower 21s, and we'll see what the move is from there. For Supermicro, in my opinion, is still kind of flat, trading sideways. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually push up to about some higher levels. Look for a dip to our 20 EMA one more time. The 890 area may be tested, then a bounce back up to 915 to 920, then a move back down, some sideways price action. And I anticipate that there's going to be more upside later on. A little bit of a pop. So look for a little dip and a pop. But in order for this to continue, we have to wait and see what happens with Nvidia's earnings. And that's going to be very important for the way we end up moving. So I'll be watching that very, very carefully. I can't wait to see how things end up developing from here. But I think there might be a little dip before we attempt to get that bounce. And that's going to be key for how we end up moving. So with that being said, guys, we will be very patient. We'll wait and see how things end up going for the markets. But look for a little dip on Supermicro and a lot of these semiconductor stocks before we try to continue higher. That's going to be key for the way we end up moving. For Rivian, we have a head and shoulders like structure. We could actually continue to fall if we lose 9.9. If we lose that, look for a dip all the way down to about 9.5. We also have resistance at 10.3. If we break that, look for 10.67. Overall, with the head and shoulders, we are looking a little bit more bearish, but watch for confirmation if we lose 10. If we lose that, then yes, we're going to be dipping a lot more. For SoFi, we have a little bit of a dip coming. We have resistance at 7.2, and then we have support all the way down here around 6.92. We could be dipping a bit more, so we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're currently trying to hold 208. That's going to be our support at the 20 EMA. And we have resistance at this 211 area. I wouldn't be surprised if we hold this and try to push for 211. So we'll have to see if that ends up being the case as we have an imbalance up there. And we'll see what happens with us moving forward. For AMD, in my personal opinion, is kind of trading sideways. We have support currently at 162, and we have resistance all the way up here at about 168. Right now, with the inverse head and shoulders, there is more upside potential for this, but I think it might dip a little bit to retest 162, then try to bounce off that and trade sideways within the range for now. Whether or not this continues to go much higher depends on Nvidia, but from a technical standpoint, we do look more bullish on AMD. I favor this is going to be trying to push all the way up to about the 180s. It looks more probable just looking at technicals, so we'll just have to wait and see. For ARM, we're also looking a bit more bullish. This does favor a push all the way up here towards 117. If we lose support at 110, look for a dip all the way back down to lower levels like 105. But overall, the trend is favoring the upside for ARM for us to push all the way up to the 120s. For Coinbase, we're actually looking very, very flat right now. So we did push a little bit higher, all the way up towards that resistance at 233. We also happen to have support right here around 220. Overall, we're stuck within this range. We could push a little bit higher, hits 233, then reject and just continue to trade sideways. But I do see a little bit more potential for us to try to push a little bit higher. For a few more tickers, we also have Amazon. Amazon, in my opinion, is actually dipping a little bit. We could be looking for a test of 180 before it tries to bounce. But I think it might actually retest the lower 180s one more time, 182 or so, shuffle for a bit, then try to make its way up towards 184. So it might not hit 180 exactly, guys, just kind of discard that part that I just said. We might dip a little bit to 182 again before we get the bounce. It doesn't have to go up down to 180. 182, then a bounce could come, and I'm going to be looking for 184. I find that to be more probable looking at the 4-hour. Meta is looking a little bit more bearish. We have a head and shoulders like structure. It might dip a little bit more. It's about 462 and then attempt to get back up to 470, but look for a little bit more downside before it tries to get that bounce. It's looking kind of weak right now. Microsoft is looking very bullish right now, continuing to push up very nicely. I think it could be testing its high. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually go all the way up towards about 432. I find that to be very, very probable. For Google, we're looking a bit more bullish. We have 180 as resistance coming. If it breaks this, we could be looking for a push for 182 before we reject. But I think overall, we're looking more bullish. For GameStop, I think we're going to get a bounce very soon. We're trying to base right now. We're consolidating very nicely. And we dropped really hard in such a short period of time. We also almost fully filled this gap below. So either, we also have a nice inverse head and shoulders forming. So it depends if we could hold this or not. Let me actually pull up the hourly and show you guys this. So GameStop might get a bounce. We might actually get a little bounce if we hold this structure. If we break past 23.7 to 24, look for a big push to 30. If we fail to do so, we're going to continue to trade sideways in the low 20s, but this does favor a little bounce as a strong possibility. For AMC, this may attempt to bounce as well. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders starting to form, but we need to see this thing try to break above 5 to try to push back up to 5.5. So I'll be watching to see if we get a bounce. Overall, it's holding up very, very well. For DJT, we're dipping a bit exactly as predicted. There is a risk of this coming down, in my opinion, towards this 42 area. So we'll be watching this carefully, but we are dipping for now, so give this some time. For the VIX, we are dipping a little bit more. There is a risk that this could continue to fall. So watch and see how this ends up performing. We could continue to fall from here into this 11.5 area. The VIX is still bearish, which suggests that the market is still bullish. There's no sign of the market breaking down yet or anything like that. For the 10-year Treasury yield, this will be affected by the FOMC minutes. Otherwise, it's just kind of in a range. So we'll give this some time. We have a gap below and a gap above. I'll just wait and see what happens with the minutes. Same thing with the dollar, not really doing much, just shuffling sideways. We have 104.7 as resistance and 105, and support currently at this 104.4 zone. So we'll see how things go, guys. Let me just make it very clear that right now, the market is still bullish. I do expect the market to break all-time highs for SPY, the QQQ, and the others, and we're continuing to pump very, very nicely on the charts. So I think that there's more upside coming and more potential for new all-time highs. Tesla, on the other hand, may start a little bit low after we push so much, get a little pullback in the pre-market, then try to continue to pump later on. And I think that whether this continues for longer will also depend on Nvidia's earnings. So one last reminder, guys, do not forget that tomorrow at 2 p.m. we have the FOMC minutes. This will favor the upside for the markets, in my personal opinion. And then we also have Nvidia's earnings after the market closes. So wait for that and we'll see how things go. With that being said, thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. I'll see you guys tomorrow before the market opens to report how things go. Thanks again, and peace out.